As you can tell, ladies and gentlemen, we are doing something we've never done on my college football preview shows. We are coming to you on location as we are in Missouri. Not Columbia, Missouri, to talk about the Missouri Tigers, but my brother and I decided to take, a couple of days off and take a little road trip, have some fun in Branson, Missouri. As you can tell, it may not be Vegas, but there is plenty to do in what this city considers themselves as somewhat of an entertainment capital. Yeah, you may not find Wayne Newton here, but I'm going to let you look behind me. As you can tell, there are some places of entertainment. In fact, right behind me, even though the big billboard's not up, Barry Williams, that's right, Greg Brady from the Brady Bunch, does a routine show here in a tribute to the 1970s. I know, exciting stuff. But anyway, enough of me talking. Let's talk about the Missouri Tigers for my college football 2015 preview. Well, as you can tell, we have made our ways to the friendly confines of my hotel in Branson. And yeah, I know Branson's not the home of the University of Missouri, but we are in the Show Me State. Sorry about that for the camera movement. But we are going to be talking about the Missouri Tigers for 2015. And you should never have to apologize if you're Gary Pinkel, the head coach of the Tigers, for having double-digit back-to-back seasons. The year before last, 12 wins. And how about this past year? 11. Pretty darn good. 11-3, cap of the bowl win over Minnesota. Past 2 years, Missouri has won the SEC East. Not bad for a school that's only been playing in this conference, which is regarded as, to some, is still the best conference in college football. They've only been in the conference 3 years, and they've made it to the SEC championship twice. Entering this season, Maty Mauk hopes that this third season can be the charm for an SEC championship to come to Columbia. If you look at the stats from last year, 25 TD passes, not bad at all. And he did have his moments last season. But also, too, he had inconsistencies. Lots of incomplete passes, including in that SEC title game against Alabama, in which he had an awful first half, and a half in which they only scored 3 points against the Tide. And even in a win last year against Florida, Missouri's offense was ineffective. In that game, he only went 6 of 18. And, of course, the Georgia disappointment in which he threw 4 picks. In fact, he had 13 picks last year to go with the 25 touchdowns. So Mauk knows that he can play a lot better. And again, he's entering his junior year. For the second straight year, Mizzou also has to replace a bunch of receivers, including Bud Sasser, who is very reliable. So entering this season, Jamal Moore, even though he's just a sophomore, could be the most talented of the bunch. And, of course, Nate Brown is a sophomore as well. So at least entering 2016, you should have some experience back. But again, they've got to retool at wide receiver, and Mauk at the same time needs to have chemistry with these guys. Looking at the ground game, not quite as big of a deal because Russell Hansbrough should do just fine. Entering his senior year, 1,100 yards on the ground, just a season ago and 10 touchdowns. You will miss Marcus Murphy, but at least Hansbrough can handle the load. Missouri's offensive line should be able to handle the load too because of the fact that you return 4 of your 6 linemen, including the tight end and Sean Conklin. And don't forget about the right guard Connor McGovern, Evan Boehm at center, and Taylor Chappell at left tackle. But also, too, even though the left guard might be considered a new starting position for Mizzou, Brad McNutty is a senior and should fit in just well at the left guard, just having some experience. Missouri's offense, even though the team went 11-3 last season, knows that they've got to do better. It can't just rely on the defense. A year ago, Missouri, 12th out of 14 teams in the SEC when it came to scoring, 27 points a game. They know that can't cut it again. And second to last in total offense, 367 yards a game. Missouri is the type of team that defensively has gotten production the last 2 seasons, but as you probably know in the SEC title game, you got to have your offense and defense clicking. And defensively, last season, Missouri was productive. Okay, you don't win 11 games just by having your moments on offense. Defense has to come with it. And you notice one thing about Missouri, at least in this decade, they get to the quarterback, and that's just because of fine play on the defensive side. But this season, there's going to be some new guys on that defensive front, we'll talk about in a second. But Dave Steckel, your defensive coordinator, decided to take the job at Missouri State, head coaching job. So, entering this season, you're going to feature Barry Odom, a former Missouri assistant who now takes over D, who returns 6 starters. The challenge for Missouri is going to be this defensive front, which last season was very good against the run. Fourth in the SEC, giving up just 133 yards per contest. So this season, Missouri's defensive ends are going to be a little bit on the green side. So Marcus Loud, sophomore, as well as Charles Harris, another sophomore at the other defensive end. We'll see if they can keep that fine tradition of Missouri QB pressure going as far as that defensive line goes. Again, they've been so productive in this area, in the past with players who went on to the NFL. So if Missouri can get those defensive ends, this new crop, to play at even a decent level and exceed expectations, then I think you'll see Missouri do just fine. Looking at defensive tackle, the only true starter back amongst the defensive front four, Harold Brantley, a junior. The back seven, this is where Missouri gets a little bit on the even side because you return the majority of the back seven. Kendall Brothers, probably the best of the bunch offensively or defensively as far as overall athletes, entering his senior years. A decorated career, and Michael Schur should complement him from the middle side linebacker. Strong side linebacker is the only area where you may not have a great amount of experience, so that's an area to really watch out for if you're the Tigers. Both corners, though, should be pretty much worry-free for Missouri with Kenya Dennis as well as Aaron Penton. Again, both juniors, and the free safety returns in Ian Simon. As far as place kicking goes, Andrew Baggett entering his senior year. And by the way, during spring practice, they actually used him to punt as well. So either he or Corey Finney should handle the punting duties. But at least the place kicking duties, that part's secured by Baggett. Schedule for Missouri, no excuse for them not to have a perfect September because they virtually play nobody in that month. Southeast Missouri State and playing at Arkansas State for the first of two trips to the Razorback State. I'll explain why later, as Missouri will play against a team that will probably win the Sun Belt in the Red Wolves, but winning at Jonesboro shouldn't be that difficult. It's not a far trip, and Missouri should get a lot of fans there. You host Connecticut on the 19th of September, and your SEC opener, you could think of tougher games than this, playing at Kentucky, although Mark Stoops' offense should be pretty good. October, South Carolina and Florida continuing SEC play, but both come to Columbia, Missouri. That'll help. Could be 6-0 entering that game at Georgia. Last season, the Bulldogs absolutely walloped Missouri and did so in Columbia 34-0. Georgia, many people's pick to win the SEC East this time. And then you go to Vandy to play the Commodores to close out October. November, Mississippi State at home. Remember, the Bulldogs are in rebuilding mode. BYU, this could be a troublesome game, be a home-slanted game in Kansas City, but keep in mind that the Cougars with Taysom Hill, if he's healthy, unlike last year, can be a problem for that Missouri defensive line, who again is quite a bit inexperienced. So BYU playing them in Kansas City won't be a picnic in November. And then you close out the year, Tennessee, you get them at home. But the second trip to the Razorback State, and this time you play against the Razorbacks on the road. Last season, this was a low-scoring contest with Missouri winning 21-14. Won't be easy to try to beat these guys in Fayetteville this time, as Missouri might find out. I'm looking at Missouri having a 9-3 campaign with a 5-3 division record in the SEC East. I think they'll play well, but this time I think they fall a little bit short of winning their third straight SEC East title. And I think they finished tied for second with Tennessee in the SEC East. Look, I think quarterback play, Maty Mauk's got some talent. I'm just not sure if he's consistent enough to lead Missouri back to the promised land with, again, working with a bunch of new receivers. And also, too, on that defensive side, the defensive line is a bit of a concern. Another concern I have for Missouri, the SEC East, they've gotten better. Tennessee will be a better team. Arkansas will be better. And Georgia will be much better. And we saw what Georgia did to Missouri last year. And this time, Missouri has to try to beat them in Athens. No picnic there. Still think Missouri will have a nice year. And if they can win their bowl game, we'll have a shot at a double-digit winning season. But it's the SEC, so it's going to be a battle nearly every week. That's my look at Missouri. And as we close it out on this on-location edition, as I decided to take a brief vacation with my brother, we've had a good time in the Show Me State. Thanks for watching, everybody.